So I'd like to start off today by introducing myself. My name is Dr. Dana Hodgkin, and I'm a clinical assistant professor of child and adolescent psychiatry here at the Child Study Center, Long Island office. And I'd like to let you know that you could submit questions at any time today by just typing them into the questions pane of the control panel. That's on the right side of your screen, and we'll answer questions at the end of our presentation. So today's presentation is Better Than Barbie, Raising Teens with Positive Body Image. And I'd love to start today by quoting one of the leaders in the field of eating disorder prevention, Becker, and ask us all to think of all of the women and girls in our lives, and if we're a woman or girl, we could include ourselves in this as well, and ask ourselves to think about all of the time, effort, energy, and emotion that these women and young girls spend disliking their bodies, wishing they could look different. And I'd like you to add it up. It takes a little bit. And now I'd like you to think of what these women and young girls could do with all of this time, effort, energy, emotion, if we could actually have them be okay with the way they looked. What these young girls and women could do to make the world a better place with all of this time and emotion, if they could just feel okay with the way they looked. If you think about it, there's something pretty powerful going on today in today's webinar. So many of you have joined in, and as parents, aunts, uncles, educators, principals, leaders of your community, if you think about it, represented right here on today's webinar are over 1,000 young girls taking the journey through elementary school, junior high school, and beyond. And if you think about it, that's actually something quite powerful. We know that 10% of adolescent females will develop eating disorders or eating disorder subthreshold eating disorders. And what that means for us today is something quite powerful. That means that 100 girls are represented right here on this phone call who are at great risk for developing an eating disorder or eating disorder symptomatology. But even for those of our students and children and community members and nieces or grandchildren who will never develop eating disorder symptoms, a large percentage of these young girls will spend a tremendous amount of time in their lives disliking their bodies, disliking the way they look, and wishing they could look different, wishing they could look like someone else. And this body dissatisfaction is something that will often stay with them for life and distract from many of the important things that they want to be setting their mind to doing. So prior to 2001, the research on eating disorder prevention was kind of disappointing. We knew that while we could educate people about eating disorders, we couldn't actually prevent these eating disorders from occurring. In 2001, an individual named Eric Stice did a study where he used the well-known psychological principle of cognitive dissonance to actually help girls buy into the healthy ideal as opposed to the thin or appearance ideal of feminine attractiveness. And what he found was that this was actually a pretty effective way to prevent eating disorders. And his study has been replicated again and again in various different settings. And the Body Project, which is the name of the program, has time and time again been able to help girls through cognitive dissonance prevent girls from developing eating disorder symptoms down the road. And even for those girls who would never necessarily develop eating disorder symptoms, helping them have a healthier body image and more body satisfaction, as well as helping them devote energy and time and emotion into other things that are more important in their life. So what is cognitive dissonance? So cognitive dissonance is basically the uncomfortable psychological feeling when our beliefs and our actions are not in line with one another. And often what we'll do as human beings when we experience cognitive dissonance is that we'll actually shift our beliefs to be more in line with our actions. We'll look at what we're actually doing and shift our beliefs to be more in line with what we see ourselves doing. So by helping young girls act in ways that are pro-healthy ideal and kind of anti the thin or appearance ideal that's so perpetuated by our media, we can actually have them buy into the healthy ideal of feminine beauty more than buy into the healthy ideal more than the thin ideal of feminine beauty. And we'll talk more about that. And body dissatisfaction is in itself a risk factor for eating disorders, and also something that many individuals go through and experience without ever having an eating disorder. So I want to take 3 aspects from the Body Project program and from eating disorder prevention and share them with you today as parents and educators to really equip you to help you kind of raise children who can feel good about their bodies and feel good about their contribution to the world. And this is especially critical in today's society when our children just receive so many messages from the media, from social media, from TV, that make them feel kind of bad about their bodies and kind of uncomfortable with who they are and what they look like. So the first thing I want to really highlight today is the difference between the appearance ideal and the healthy ideal. So the goal of the appearance ideal is to achieve a figure that's neither realistic nor healthy. And people go to pretty extreme measures to look like a supermodel, including some very unhealthy weight control behaviors. And unfortunately, living our lives for this appearance or thin ideal is unfortunately not a great recipe for happiness. 95% of American women can try from here till tomorrow to lose weight, to have that body of a supermodel, and will never be able to obtain it. A lot of the models that we see are photoshopped for at least 2 hours before we even see them, have teams of people doing their hair and makeup at every moment. A lot of these people have had surgeries on their own, to look a certain way. And yet our 12-year-olds and 10-year-olds are looking at these models and comparing themselves to them and wishing they could look like them, when in reality, they could diet from here until tomorrow and it would not necessarily get them to that point. A study in 1995 found that just after 3 minutes of looking at models in a fashion magazine, 70% of women reported feeling depressed, guilty, ashamed of their bodies. And women who are constantly always chasing after this appearance ideal, always on this new fad diet or that new fad diet, or yo-yo dieting, can actually decrease their overall lifespan of up to 20%. So those who kind of spend their lives, and we all are these people sometimes or know these people, kind of always searching to become, always trying to become that appearance ideal, are often not successful, often left kind of disappointed and frustrated, and the toll that it takes emotionally and physically could be tremendous. I want to contrast that with the healthy ideal. So the healthy ideal is the way your body looks when you're doing the necessary things to appropriately maximize your physical health, mental health, and overall quality of life. A healthy body has adequate muscle and fat tissue. And with the healthy ideal, the goal is really health, fitness, functionality, and longevity. It's feeling your best and having your body be at its best regardless of size. And I want to ask you, was the thin ideal always the standard for feminine attractiveness? If you want to think back historically or even think back to earlier in your lives, and the answer is of course not, right? We know that less than 100 years ago in the United States, there were ads like these. Men wouldn't look at me when I was skinny, but since I gained 10 pounds, this new easy way, I could have all the dates I want. Or this article, gain weight, stop being skinny and tired. Amazing scientific plan adds new attractive pounds and inches. It used to actually be considered more attractive to have a little more flesh on a person. In the olden days, quote unquote, it actually was a sign of wealth, right? To have a more fuller body. In the times of the Titanic, women used to eat fat at night so that they would actually have more flesh. So where did this kind of thin ideal come from? It's actually a little bit more recent in human history than we might realize. And it really, in large part, comes from models such as Twiggy in the past, and this kind of media movement towards something called the thin ideal, right? Where suddenly all of these models and all of these celebrities had to be super, super thin. And if we think about why this is so and kind of what the impact is on young girls, we have to really understand a little bit about the psychology of advertising. So when our 10-year-olds see this lip gloss ad right in front of us, it's ostensibly an ad for a lipstick or lip gloss. But if you look at the picture, the model has perfect skin, she has really defined cheeks, she has really large eyelashes, she has really defined eyebrows, right? There's so much more than just the lip gloss that meets our eye about this picture. And if we think about it, the psychology of advertising is really such that if they can get us or our children to feel a certain sense of lack, to compare ourselves on some level to this model and feel like she looks really good, I'm not meeting that ideal as much, it'll get our kids to say, maybe if I buy this lipstick, I will then look more like her. I will then meet this kind of thin ideal or appearance ideal that's being perpetuated to me. And so our poor kids go to CVS, they ask us for money, they get this lipstick, and do they actually automatically look like the supermodel? Certainly not. And then they buy more products, and they buy more products. The fashion industry, the media, the makeup industry, the weight loss industry certainly knows that if they could get us as consumers to feel a certain lack, to feel insecure, to feel as though we're not measuring up to the models that are often photoshopped that we see in front of us, they could actually get us to buy products. But the effects that this has on young kids is actually pretty daunting. So I want to take a moment just to show you a video that many of you or your children might have actually seen, just to give us a sense of what sometimes goes into these ads. So this is a model before. And as you see, the image is being photoshopped quite a lot. So we could ask ourselves why our perception of beauty is so distorted. But this is what our children are seeing, right? Our children just see the finished product. They see that billboard, and it makes it feel as though with this world today where there's so much media coming in, it makes it feel as though everyone can look like that, and everyone does look like that. And what they don't say is how often and how much the makeup, the final image that we see was photoshopped. And some advertising companies are even moving completely to computer-generated images of people. So what our children are seeing and comparing themselves to are individuals who are often photoshopped or even completely computer-generated. And if we think about it, at such a young age, at 2 or 3, we hand our little kids Barbies to play with, and Barbie herself, right, is in such proportions, and they've actually, done some anatomical research on Barbie and determined that if she existed, her waist to chest ratio would be such that she actually wouldn't even be able to stand up on her own. Barbie would never be able to bear children. She wouldn't be able to have some of the internal organs that she needed to function, such as kidneys. And yet time and time again, our children kind of have this image in their mind of the appearance ideal. And we as parents have this image in our mind of the appearance ideal that is neither realistic for the vast majority of women nor healthy to try and get there. And if you think of the impact that this, media and this thin ideal has had on our society and on our children, it's actually pretty daunting, right? This is the kind of tactic of making us feel insecure about ourselves so that we buy products has been enormously profitable to the point where if the thin ideal was not in existence in advertising and the media, capitalism as we see it would actually seek to exist. It has become so part and parcel of advertising that we feel bad about ourselves and as a result buy these products to try to feel better about our bodies. And if you actually look at the study about Fiji, in the 1990s, television and Western media was introduced to the island of Fiji, and they tracked 65 adolescent schoolgirls over 3 years. And after the introduction of British and American TV, 12.7% of the girls had developed significant eating disorders after 1 month and 29.2% after 3 years. Self-induced vomiting as weight control went from 0% in this cohort of 65 adolescent girls to 11.3% in 1998. And, no one needs reminders when we think about the impact that this is having on our girls, on ourselves, on our self-esteem, and our ability to kind of function as people. And if we think of the cost to the individual person of spending their lives trying to look like the appearance ideal, the costs are huge, right? We don't enjoy social events as much because we're too busy thinking about how we look or what we're eating or what we're not eating. We can't engage in things as females sometimes, like schoolwork or work to the full extent that we can, because often maybe we feel like we have to be focusing on our appearance or focusing on losing weight or focusing on maintaining weight loss, when in reality there's just so much we could be giving to the world that's more than how we look. Wouldn't that be sad if that was all that females had to give to the world, the way they looked? We have so much more that we could give and accomplish than just the way we look. And as parents, sometimes our values speak much louder than our words to our children. And if we are parents that buy into the appearance ideal ourselves, our children see that. They see us looking in the mirror and making negative comments about ourselves, and that becomes their self-talk inside of themselves. If they see us kind of living our life for this appearance ideal, our actions and our values will speak much louder than any lecture we give them about the healthy ideal. So we want to really kind of incorporate these messages as grown-ups ourselves. And let's really ask ourselves, is there more that we have to offer as females to the world than just the way we look? And the answer, I think, should be a resounding yes. If we think of some of the great women of American history or mankind's history, right? And imagine, what if Rosa Parks, instead of doing the important work she was doing, was at a gym? Or what if Mary Curie was kind of reading the latest weight loss magazines on how she can get, to the next to a lower size? Or if Mother Teresa, instead of spending her life trying to bring good to the world, was focused completely on the appearance ideal and the way she looked, we would lose out on so many amazing contributions to society that we can give. We have so much more to give to the world than just the way we look. When we live for the appearance ideal, we take away from that potential. And the more we could communicate that to our children, most importantly by our example, the better. The second point I want to highlight today, to really kind of equip you to raise children with positive body image, is something called a mirror affirmation exercise. And this is part of what we do in the Body Project. We ask girls to stand in front of a mirror and write down at least 10 positive qualities: physical, emotional, intellectual, and social qualities. For example, we might like the shape of our arms, the strength of our legs, the sound of our laugh, the fact that you're a good friend. And we want to definitely include at least some physical attributes on this list. And this is enormously hard for kids to do sometimes, but also enormously important. And I challenge you as adults to try this mirror affirmation exercise on your own. Because what happens today is when we look in the mirror, instead of thinking about all of the positive things about our body, the way that our body functions, the way that our body works, the body parts that we really do like, our eyes, our eyebrows, instead of focusing on what's going well for us and our bodies, we focus in on what we don't like. Kind of similar to that scene from Mean Girls when they're all gathered around the mirror saying negative things about their bodies. As females, we've almost adopted these glasses that the media gives to us. And we can't even look at ourselves in the mirror and appreciate the positive things about our bodies because we're so focused on what doesn't look right, on what's too fat, on what's too this, on what's too that. We can't even look in the mirror and think about what is going well. And I've come into contact with so many high school girls across the country who are bubbling and sparkling with so much that they can give to the world. And when they look in the mirror, they can't even think of one positive thing about themselves because we're so used to just having to hate our bodies and having to dislike ourselves when we look in the mirror. And it really becomes a recipe for unhappiness when every time we look in the mirror, whether it's in the morning or after using the restroom at work, we have to kind of have it be a downward experience and a negative experience. I challenge you to look at the mirror and name 10 things that you do like about yourself and savor those things. Instead of looking in the mirror and just thinking exactly what the media wants us to be thinking about, which is what's not going right for us and what products we need to purchase so that we can hate ourselves a little bit less. And what's interesting about the Body Project program is that some research has actually indicated that participants who went through the program exhibited less unhealthy weight gain over time than control conditions. This is actually kind of fascinating. When we can get girls to buy into the healthy ideal as opposed to the appearance ideal, we can actually help them choose healthier behaviors over time. And in order to kind of understand why this works, it's important to understand that according to the research, our bodies are kind of like cars. If you have this old car that you really dislike and, it's just kind of using because you inherited it from a great aunt, you're not going to put much money into it. When you fill up at the gas tank, you're not going to fill up with the best gas. If a part breaks, you're going to replace it probably with a used or inexpensive part. But imagine you got this. Congratulations, you won a brand new, beautiful, shiny Tesla. You better believe you're going to fill up with the best gas. You better believe that when you need to replace the part, you're going straight back to the manufacturer. You're going to be that person, kind of standing outside of your house shining the car in your driveway. You're going to take really good care of the car. And it turns out our bodies are very similar. When we can actually look in the mirror and like our bodies and be okay with who we are and actually like ourselves, we will naturally make healthier decisions for our body over time. We tend to like and take care of things that we like. And when we can get ourselves to, instead of being ashamed or disliking or hating our bodies, actually like our bodies, and be satisfied with our bodies, we can actually take better care of it and make healthier decisions over time. So I challenge you as parents to look in the mirror, or the next time you look in the mirror, instead of focusing on what's not going well for you today, focus instead on what is going well. Savor your eyes, savor your eyebrows, savor the parts of yourself that you do like, that are kind of going well for you today. And really make this a habit and a practice, and try to teach that to your children by showing them that you do it on your own. And the third and perhaps the most important thing to talk about today is something called fat talk. So fat talk is any kind of talk that implicitly or explicitly advances the thin ideal or the appearance ideal perpetuated by the media. Anything like, I'm so fat today, or I can't believe I just ate so much pizza, I'm going to be so fat, or you look amazing, have you lost weight? Anything that kind of perpetuates this appearance ideal could actually be really destructive to our body image and to our self-esteem. And research shows that even 3 to 5 minutes of time spent engaged in fat talk actually significantly decreases our body satisfaction and makes us feel worse about our body. So I'd love to show you the following video on fat talk, and it's available online. It's called UK Fat Talk Free Week, and there are a bunch of similar videos as well about fat talk. And if we could actually give our children the gift of feeling okay about their bodies and recognizing that they have so much more to give to the world than just the way they look, that we could actually be giving them the biggest gift in the world. And as parents, kind of maybe showing our kids this video, it's freely available online under UK Fat Talk Free Week, and there are other amazing Fat Talk videos as well. We can actually make rules in our house about fat talk, and parents and children are bound to not fat talk in the house. But if we can give our children this gift of feeling okay about their bodies and knowing that they have so much more to give to the world than just the way they look, we could be giving them, perhaps, and mankind, the greatest gift imaginable. So I want to take some questions. I have a few questions here. How do you not comment on someone's body or food and give them the feedback that they have either lost weight or gained weight? This is a great question. I think speaks to, our ideals that we give over as a parent, and the importance of not fat talking, right? So if we are coming back from a family barbecue or a family event or church or synagogue and talking only about what the person looks like next to us, right? Or who in our community lost weight, who gained weight, who's reaching the appearance ideal, who's not reaching the appearance ideal, then that's actually a very negative message for our children. We want to really kind of focus conversations on content and less on who in our lives is meeting or not meeting the appearance ideal. What advice would you give to educators on how to communicate with their students about their image at home where the issues are? So I think a lot of the things that we're talking about at home, in terms of the appearance ideal and the healthy ideal and the mirror affirmation and banning fat talk should be applied to schools as well, right? If we could create positive body image zones in the school setting, we could be doing a whole lot for our kids as well. And there are definitely great ways to incorporate this in the school, on a school systems level. And in terms of speaking to the individual student when she's talking to us or complaining to us about messages that she is getting at home that make her feel uncomfortable about her body, I think it's really important to remember that for adolescents are so sensitive to the rapport that they establish with adults, especially adults who aren't their parents. And if you're an adult that she can speak to outside of her home and she can feel close and comfortable with, that's huge and that's important. And the more empathetic and supportive you can be of her and non-judgmental and non-critical, the better, and kind of supporting her through that. But creating positive body image school zones or fat talk free school zones are also kind of critical as well. And the third question, do you have a particular program you suggest to school counselors to utilize when working on a body image curriculum? So yes, I definitely recommend the Body Project program. It's been evidence-based for high school students, and there's also a adaptation for young adults or college-age students. For more information or resources about becoming a Body Project facilitator or bringing the Body Project to your school or to your child's school, you could definitely feel free to contact me, dana.galler-hadgen@nyumc.org. You could also contact the National Eating Disorders Association on their helpline and get some information about the Body Project and becoming trained as a Body Project facilitator. And additionally, if you're interested in bringing the program to a college campus, you can contact the Body Project Collaborative through their website online as well. Thank you so much for joining me today on behalf of the Child Study Center. Once you leave this webinar, you'll receive a survey, and we'd appreciate it if you'd complete it. You'll also receive a follow-up email within a day or so with a link to a recording of today's presentation. We hope you could join us for our next webinar, The Science of Positive Relationships with Dr. Alan Schlechter, and that's on Tuesday, July 24th at 1 p.m. Thank you so much again for joining us today, and have a great day.